How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. To recap the final two games between the Yankees and the Rangers. So we didn't do a recap yesterday after the second consecutive loss to the Rangers and the fifth loss in a row in the grand scheme of things for the Yankees. But, the series did end on a high note. The Yankees did win a baseball game, so we'll get into that. But the Yankees did get shut out in the second game. They did. They couldn't get anything going against Nathan Eovaldi, which we knew was going to be tough. And Nathan Eovaldi is having a great season. And it's hard to believe that at one point he pitched for the Yankees. But then once he left, he went to the Rays and then went to Boston. And then, of course, has now spent some time in Texas. And he's won 2 World Series with both of those teams, and he has been a very good pitcher. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball for a while. He's really reinvented himself since he, left and went to the Red Sox and pitched really well, and then, of course, is now with Texas. But yeah, the Yankees just couldn't get anything going against him. And you know what? I want to give props to Will Warren because Will Warren got the start for the Yankees in the second game, and he pitched really well. Will Warren, outside of a couple of starts where he, gave up a lot of runs, and that's why his ERA is over 4. But, he got through 5 innings, walked, a few batters. But the other thing, too, with Will Warren is, and he's shown this recently, is he doesn't panic, right? There's traffic on the bases. He gets himself into trouble, but he always seemed to work out of it. Lately, he's really been able to work out of it, which I think shows the maturity level and the growth of this pitcher. And he's going to be, we'll see what happens next year with the rotation. But, he has really turned it around for himself. Because remember last year, he came up and he couldn't get anybody out. His first start against the Phillies, it was not good. It was not good. But he's turned it around. And, you take out the Blue Jays and the Dodgers starts from this season, his ERA is a lot lower. He's looking good. He's getting better and better, and the Yankees are going to need him down the stretch. And they put a lot of faith in him and in Schlittler, 2 young guys, to get it done here as the Yankees are trying to ramp up for the end of the season, and trying to make the playoffs because it's not a guarantee. But the bullpen did its job. Outside of who we'll get into in a second, but Camilo Duval came in, and he pitched a clean 6th inning. Luke Weaver pitched a clean 7th inning, a couple of strikeouts. But then what happens, everybody? Aaron Boone decides to go to Devin Williams in the 8th inning, which, look, not a safe situation, all right? Not in the 9th inning, but Devin Williams has shown recently that he's back to the Devin Williams from the beginning of the season. And the Yankees are in a position right now where they cannot afford to lose games. All right? They need to win more games now because it's just gotten to that point where, you continue to slip up, and like we've been talking about, you're going to be on the outside looking in. And Aaron Boone decided to go with Devin Williams. So Devin Williams comes in, and he gets the first batter out of the inning. But then, ball hit out to left field that should have been caught. All right? Should have been caught by Dominguez. Ends up not being caught. It was off the bat of Adolis Garcia. All right? And then Devin Williams just falls apart. He then walks Jock Peterson, who the Yankees just could not get out this series. Guy is batting under 150. The Yankees could not get him out. Under 150. Yankees could not get him out. And then he also walks Wyatt Langford. And the bases are loaded. And then Rowdy Tellez comes up. And Williams, throws him a low ball that Tellez goes down and gets, and he hits a 2-run single, and the Yankees lost the game. And Boone, after the game, was trying to at least squeeze one more out of him, and then he would have went to a different pitcher. He did go to Mark Leiter Jr. After, the damage was done. But you had him and you had Bednar in the bullpen warming up. Well, they were ready to go. And we'll get to Bednar in the final game of the series because he came up big for the Yankees to snap the losing streak. But when I'm watching this unfold, I'm saying, well, once you get to the bases loaded, honestly, not even that. Even before that, he faced the three batters. Okay, I would have taken him out after he walked Jock Peterson. I would have took him out. I would have said, no, we're not doing this again. But he didn't do that. He tried to stick with him. And this is, a blessing and a curse of Aaron Boone. And most people will say a curse because there are times where, you have a little too much trust in your players. And look, he's trying to get Devin Williams to get out of this funk that he's in right now. But you can't afford this right now. All of these games are so precious. You need to win games. Yankees are sliding. They hadn't won a game, since before the trade deadline, when they took 3 out of 4 from the Rays. They got swept by the Marlins, and then you were, on the brink of getting swept by the Rangers, which didn't happen. Should have won the first game, but Devin Williams, of course, chalked it up, gave up the game-tying home run to Jock Peterson. He should have been taken out prior to the Tellez at bat. He should have, but he did not do that. And then also, something else that Aaron Boone said, which got some traction on social media, is when he was talking about, Bednar and Leiter. And he mentioned with Leiter that Leiter hadn't pitched in a while. So I guess there was some hesitancy there because he hadn't pitched in a while to put him in. And everybody was all over Boone because you say that, yet we go back to October, Game 1 of the World Series. Boone puts in Nestor Cortez to face Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, and Nestor Cortez hadn't pitched in a month. So that doesn't look good. That does not look good. And Boone obviously has regrets about that move from back then, but obviously it's easier to say that now because of what happened, what transpired. But yeah, that wasn't a good look. That wasn't a good look saying that. Because you knew people were going to jump all over that. People were going to take that and run with it because of what transpired in the World Series. So yeah, the Yankees just couldn't get anything going. Eovaldi pitched 8 innings. I'm surprised that he didn't come back out to pitch the 9th, but you know what? Obviously, he ended up. What did he finish with? He finished with 98 pitches. The Rangers, they're on the outside looking in. Bruce Bochy doesn't want to take a risk in anything. So, he got taken out after 98 pitches, but, I would have let him go the distance because the Yankees weren't getting anything done. McMahon led off the 9th with a single, and then Stan came up. He hit the ball hard, but Corey Seager made a really nice play, and they were able to turn a double play, and that was basically it. Yankees struck out 7 times. Aaron Judge made his return DHing. He struck out a couple times. So, yeah, couldn't get anything going. So, we go to now the game yesterday. And, it was a tight game. It was a tight game. Had that playoff feel to it. Aaron Boone yesterday, I thought, because it worked out, pushed all the right buttons. The bullpen didn't give up any runs, although if you're a Yankee fan, you were definitely on the edge of your seat because there was definitely traffic on the bases a bunch of times, but the Yankees were able to wiggle out of it for the most part. The Rangers left 11 guys on base yesterday. But the Rangers opened up the scoring with the Sam Haggerty RBI single. The Yankees did get a couple of runs in the top of the 4th inning. Anthony Volpe, clutch, RBI single. Volpe's been hitting the ball a lot better. And you know what? The defense has looked good. There really hasn't been a lot of defensive miscues on the infield, and the outfield, Dominguez has, misplayed a couple balls. There was a ball that was hit shallow that, it was a triangle. Everybody's going out there, Grisham, Dominguez, Volpe, and it just lands. Nobody gets that. But, some nice double plays turned by the Yankees in this game. Volpe has looked, better defensively. The balls aren't, first baseman, whether it's Rice or Goldschmidt, are not having to, scoop it off the ground. They're clean throws by Volpe for the most part, which is good. All right, so maybe he's turned it around, which I hope he has. I hope he has for his sake because it's tiring to just see Yankee universe just criticize him constantly. But I mean, and rightfully so. I get it. But it's exhausting. And you want to see him turn it around, but Maybe he has. So yeah, Volpe ends up driving in a run to tie the game, and then Dominguez swipes a bag. Higashioka ends up getting charged with a throwing error. So there was a double steal with Dominguez and Volpe, and then Dominguez ended up scoring. Then McMahon walked, but then Austin Wells, he just, another empty calorie at bat, reaches on a fielder's choice to get the second out of the inning. And Volpe gets into a rundown, so that allows McMahon to advance to third base. But for some reason, he was waving on Wells. He was saying, go, go. And Wells didn't, I guess Wells didn't see it or, didn't react. He didn't react in time. And he ends up getting tagged out. Wells stays at first base. Didn't really matter because then Trent Grisham grounded out to end the inning there. The Rangers then later would tie the game on a Marcus Semien sac fly. Carlos Rodon was only able to get through 5 innings. He really hasn't been giving the Yankees length. And you know what's really hurting the Yankees? Walks. Walks have hurt Yankee pitching. So they gotta clean that up. But you know what? The Rangers, their pitching yesterday, I think 8 times. 8 times they walked the Yankees. There were times in this series where the Yankees really kind of blew open some of these games. The first game, they had traffic on the base, and they jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Here against Jack Leiter, they could have did the same thing. Jack Leiter only lasted 3 1/3 innings, and he had 4 walks. But yeah, Rangers pitching 8 walks yesterday. But Bruce Bochy, got a lot of outs out of his bullpen. Paul Goldschmidt came up in a big spot. Robert Garcia is the one that surrendered, a left-handed pitcher. Game was tied going into the 7th inning. Paul Goldschmidt off the bench, and this is something he did in Seattle. He hit a home run, a huge home run, to put the Yankees ahead 3-2. And look, Goldschmidt definitely has been at certain games. He's swinging the bat better. But you look at his splits against lefties compared to righties. I mean, it's amazing. It's night and day. I mean, he's a much better hitter against left-handed pitching, and against right-handed pitching, he's not very good. So it's kind of turned to a platoon over at first base with him and Ben Rice. But yeah, Yankees got the bases loaded. And Jazz hit the ball hard a couple times yesterday, particularly after they went ahead the Yankees, and it looked like maybe it was going to go out, but it didn't with the bases loaded. So yeah, and then they put Tim Hill in for Mark Leiter Jr., who pitched a clean inning. There was traffic on the bases. A couple guys were on base. De Los Santos ended up walking Marcus Semien ended up walking. So you had him, Sam Haggerty, and Marcus Semien on base. Haggerty reached on a catcher's interference, but De Los Santos was able to get out of it. He got Adolis Garcia to fly out to end the inning there. So Yankees, clean appearance from Mark Leiter Jr., who picked up the win. Tim Hill got into De Los Santos got into trouble or had to work himself out of it. Tim Hill came on before that, didn't give up any runs, but there were traffic on the bases. So then it came down to David Bednar, who pitched an inning and 2/3. He threw, what did he throw? 42 pitches, which is the most he's thrown in a game. I mean, he threw more, or he threw less in 2022. It was I think 37 pitches, but yeah, he threw 42 pitches, and it looked like Boone was going to take him out, but he stuck with him in the 9th inning. Which, again, blessing and a curse for Boone, like I said. Yankees couldn't get anything going in the 9th inning. And then, Bednar, he struck out Tellez, he struck out Haggerty, but then he gets himself into trouble. Walks Corey Seager, which there was a 3-2 pitch. It looked like, I thought the umpires were going to bail the Yankees out and call it a strike, and that ended up not happening. Seager ended up walking, and then Semien singled to the right side. Beat the shift, and then you're sitting there going, oh no. But then Boone came out. It looked like he was going to make a pitching change, but he stuck with Bednar, and he got Adolis Garcia swinging, and the Yankees won a baseball game for the first time since I was on vacation. So they were able to get it done. 8 walks. Bellinger walked a couple times. Judge was on twice with the hit and the walk. Ben Rice walked, and he had a hit in this game. Grisham walk and a hit in this game. Dominguez had a couple of walks. Yankees only struck out 5 times, so that's good. I like to see when they're not striking out as much. But they also went 1 for 5 runners in scoring position. Then they left 8 on base. But they got the win. They got the win. Carlos Rodon, he gutted through 5 innings. Walks are still an issue. Like I said, bullpen did its job. The bullpen did its job. The Yankees sent down Jake Bird and Mark Leiter Jr. obviously now is taking over his spot, and Leiter's looked fine since he's come back. So maybe he just had to get healthy, and this time off, you got that rest because Leiter was good in the beginning of the season. So and now like I said, Jake Bird got sent down. Loizaca's on the IL again, so I don't know if we're gonna see Loizaca again. And you're still waiting on Fernando Cruz to come back, and you add him to that bullpen. I mean, this bullpen, like if everything could settle and guys pitch how they're supposed to, I mean, this could be a real weapon in the postseason if the Yankees make it. But they got to make it. It's not going to be easy. They got 3 games against the Astros coming up. And that gives me pause to be concerned, whatever. You have Cam Schlittler making the start tomorrow. Max Fried will be starting this weekend. And then also, who am I missing for Saturday? Saturday's game is going to be Luis Gil. So he'll be making his second start, and that's going to be against Framber Valdez. So that's going to be a tough matchup. Hunter Brown, we're going to see tomorrow. And then the Astros have not announced a starter for Sunday. So, yeah, you got 2 very good pitchers. It doesn't get any easier. You face good pitching in this series against the Rangers, and now you're going to be facing good pitching with the Astros coming up this weekend. But the Old Timers Day is this weekend. The Old Timers game is back, so I'm really looking forward to that. Haven't seen that since before the pandemic, so that's going to be fun. But look, am I happy that the Yankees won a game? Yeah. But you got to build off of this. You have to build off of this. And we've seen plenty of times over this stretch where you think the Yankees win a big game and you think that they're going to build on it, and then they don't. They go back to losing. So this is a big series, and you're facing good pitching. Yankees face the Twins afterwards, who they usually beat. So, if you could take 2 out of 3 and then you go into this twin series on a high note like that, that would be ideal. So, but I like I've said, the Yankees got to focus on the wild card because the Blue Jays have really, built up a lead, and they just put up like 20 runs against the Rockies yesterday. They did what they were supposed to do. They swept the Colorado Rockies. But now that sets up a very fascinating series this weekend between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. So I definitely am going to want to pay attention to that. That's a big series coming up. As for the Red Sox, not a lot of games today. As for the Red Sox, they're actually out in San Diego taking on the Padres. So those are, and the Rays are playing Seattle. So there's some big series coming up that the Yankees got to pay attention to. And then as for the Mets, bring them up briefly. I mean, they're just like the Yankees. They're struggling, But more so they're hitting. They were getting no hit until the bottom of the 9th inning when Juan Soto came up and hit a home run. But yeah, the offense hasn't been good. Their big 4, their Fab 4 has really struggled. Alonso, Soto, Lindor, Nimmo, they've been struggling. So the Mets are kind of in a free fall themselves. So once again, everybody, I know some people on the Yankee side miss Juan Soto. Juan Soto would not make a difference because, look, happened last year with the Yankees. Yankees are going through their free fall. They did win a game yesterday. And the Mets are going through a free fall themselves. So Juan Soto does not make a difference, okay? So get that out of your brain, all right? And he's struggling. And Met fans were booing him, so that's something that happened at the beginning of the season. Met fans are frustrated, and I get it. When your team is constantly, like when you get off to this great start, and now you just can't get out of your own way, and you're struggling, yeah, fans are going to let you know about it. It's for the Yankees. I mean, they just struggle on the road. At home, they're very good. So maybe that's going to bode well for them. Going home, you're home against the Astros, you're home against the Twins, and then I think you go back out on the road, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so they'll play the Twins, then they're off next Thursday, and then they'll be taking on the Cardinals at Busch Stadium, and then they're off again. So they do have some off days, some more off days on the horizon, and then they take on the Rays at George M. Steinbrenner Field, and then they take on the Red Sox for a 4-game set at home, and that's towards the end of the month. So It's a big month coming up for the Yankees. It's pivotal. We're getting to that point. But I think the Yankees, they found maybe their new closer in Bednar. I mean, that's why they went out. They got all these relief pitchers. I mean, one of them they had to send down, but maybe we'll see him back up here when the rosters expand. But the bullpen is in much better shape. Devin Williams, I'm sorry, he's going to have to just pitch, when it's not a safe situation and, or mop up time. I mean, it's just, he doesn't have his confidence right now. And the Yankees can't afford it. You can't afford to deal with this right now because wins come at a premium. And the way this team's struggling, they just can't afford to drop these games. I mean, I would put more blame on him for the loss with the first game on Monday because the Yankees had a lead and you were facing a guy that was batting in the 120s and you gave up a home run to him. And you couldn't get him out. Then he walks him again. So I put the blame more so on him there. But here, that was kind of an Aaron Boone thing, and also the Yankees just didn't hit. Yankees got shut out. So I'm not really going to get all over Devin Williams for that. He shouldn't have been pitching in that situation, and the Yankees should have scored. But you know what? He didn't pitch yesterday, and the Yankees won. So let's see what happens now when they take on the Astros. We're going to see Giancarlo Stanton play some right field, I believe, so he'll be back in the lineup. Judge will continue to DH. I can't wait till they flip-flop, and Stanton will be back to being DH, and Judge back in the outfield because Yankees can't lose Stanton. Stanton is a valuable piece, and he's shown that. He has had a good season since he's come back. So, I mean, if you want to call it a good season. Because, he really hasn't played that much. But, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you call it. He's had a good year. So, he's been one of their better hitters since he's come back off the IL. We'll say that. So, but let me know what you guys think about the Yankees winning the game. Are you buying into this, that they're going to go on a hot streak, or is this just another one of those one-off games where they win and then they'll go back to losing? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms in the description below. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Greatly appreciate that. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us on the go as well, or wherever you are. Just look up Infinite Sports. So until next time, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.